record the back end all the time.
We are live, guys. Welcome to another episode of Reset Live.
All right.
What's up?
What up?
The craziness, a little bit late. We got technical difficulties. Luckily, we have a technical wizard on our team, so that helps.
So many jokes I could make.
Chris Byrne to the rescue.
Yeah.
I hope John Lewis, who's not with us tonight, is listening in. Knows Chris saved the show.
Again.
We'll have some good banter about that, as we always do. But yeah, guys, I'm really excited. We've got Jon Vella with us today.
Woo!
And we're going to be talking becoming a conscious gangster.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, before we get into that, how are you guys doing? How's the week going? What's new? What's happening?
Oh man.
Or anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. I was at a health conference this weekend, which was amazing. It was up in Vermont called Nourish Vermont. It's actually a lot about what we are going to get into today about like kind of sustainability and how do you make a healthy community. This year was more focused on quantum health, and they had some fantastic speakers, two of which are my friends. Rube Saul is a tech entrepreneur that really got into health and wellness about 3 years ago now. And I met him at a Bulletproof conference, which was awesome. And then Jack Cruz, who is a neurosurgeon and quantum physician / biophysics expert. Really, that dude splits some heads open. If you're not in the space at all, he definitely blew minds. And I got to have my mom come up, which was really cool.
Nice.
And my mom and both my moms, two of three of my moms. So they got to meet Jack and interact with him, and a lot of his work has really affected them in a really positive way. So that was really powerful. And then otherwise, been cleaning up the house like mad. So I just got rid of 500 pounds worth of garbage that was sitting outside because.
How do you have 500 pounds of garbage?
It was all like dirt that was from the road that we have it at the bottom of we sit at the bottom of this hill, and all the road dirt comes down from this giant hill and pools like right in my corner, and then gets washed down the side by the plows and everything. So PJ and I were out with snow shovels and shoveling them into these giant contractor bags, and they were like 80 pounds. We had to put them in a wheelchair, and then we had to like flip
you put the dirt
over.
Hang on a second. You put the dirt in a wheelchair?
Bags?
We put the dirt into garbage bags and then into a wheelbarrow.
If you guys want, we can
make a show about the trash.
We can talk about that instead. We can make that the feature of the show today.
Yeah, just taking out the trash with Reset.
Taking out the trash with Jon Vella.
Yes.
Exactly.
Welcome to the show, John.
My pleasure.
What about you, Chris?
New all that sand and the fresh new landscaping you guys got going.
Right?
Permaculture.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Although it's some pretty nasty dirt, that's for sure.
A lot of salinity.
Yeah.
Nice. So my weekend and week was pretty interesting. Still getting used to this dad thing. It's 2 months in. I'm not used to it yet. I'll just put it that way. Trying to do the client work, trying to do the family work, trying to do the family travels. Ren and I actually went up to Northampton, which for those of you guys that don't know, Northampton's this nice little nook of Western Massachusetts. It's a great tourist spot. A lot of people go there. It's kind of the hippie vibe, but it's also got a lot of great places to eat and a lot of great things to do. So we went up there for a couple of appointments, had an awesome lunch with a professor of psychology for one of the projects I'm working on, and then we walked on this path that I've never been on. It's like these old railroad tracks that kind of go over Northampton, and I didn't realize this, but you can cut through most of downtown using that trail. So I saved myself, which, I can't talk about saving time and family time, but I saved myself some time by walking on that path. It was great. I got some good photos in, so it was really relaxing. And once we got back here, a little chaotic because, I have a technology company, got the client development work to do, bringing on some new subcontractors, getting my podcast going. So kind of just getting everything rolling so I can run on autopilot and be present for my son and, you know, my family.
That bike trail goes all the way to Connecticut.
Does it?
Yeah, it's wild.
That's crazy.
That is wild.
I'm about to get my bike finished for the. Yeah, I've been working on a bike for 5 years. I got a guy building me a bike. The last part,
Yeah.
I have the money in the bank for. I just got to get him to respond to a text message.
The struggle is real.
That could be harder than the money.
It's
and everything.
incredibly difficult. This guy, like the first bike I had, he gave me. It was beautiful. I rode it to work. The tire popped. I had to walk 3 hours home. I'm like, man, I just need like a patch kit, and I want to put the bike together so that I don't have this issue. And then it turned into a four-year project. So, you know, yeah, struggle is real. How about you,
Sir.
PJ? What's up?
Oh, you know, just moving 500 pounds of dirt.
I move dirt.
I've been. Well, you guys know I'm always on the health kick. So I've been reading a book called Earthing, which I highly recommend people check out. You can find it on Amazon, no problem. But it's all about like actually having your feet and your body in contact with the earth, so that you can harness electrons from the electrical field that the earth naturally gives off and is like ever present. And there's a lot of research that actually shows how it counteracts inflammation and helps you like negate a lot of inflammation and chronic issues. So I won't nerd out too hardcore, but I'm learning a lot. I just bought a grounded pillow on Amazon, so like I can sleep grounded, connected to the earth, even in my room. And we got some grounded mats coming in. So
What are those like?
what's up?
What does that mean?
The grounded? It's certainly not a pile of dirt, I'll tell you that.
Just sleeping in the dirt. Hey, sleeping in the dirt's good.
That's a good song. Wait, no, that's Rolling in the
Is
Deep.
that a
Yeah.
song?
I was thinking of Adele, Rolling in the Deep
Well,
or Derp or whatever.
That could be your
Rolling in the
song, Chris. You
deep.
play. You play
Rolling in
guitar.
the dirt. That's
So-
like a weird
Welcome
Al
to Reset
version.
Live, guys.
But yeah,
boy.
so
Good.
before we get things really rolling, I want to give Jon Vella an official introduction.
Wait a
for you
minute.
guys
Whoa,
listening in today.
whoa. John, how was your weekend?
My week has been pretty wild. I've been running around like crazy. You say weekend?
I did, but I stole PJ's light, so let's introduce you first.
Okay.
No, you threw it off. Now we got to hear about his week, man.
Yeah.
I'm
All right,
let's hear
sold
about
on
your
this
week.
Direction.
Well, hey, I got left out of the whole week talk, so I figured we'd continue on with that. No, I mean, I've been working, trying to figure out how to balance. I'm planning this new Dipitus stuff, and, you know, it's sort of, I'm working my usual day shit, and then I got to work after and trying to figure out how to balance all that, meeting with people and stuff. But it's been good. I'm looking forward to this weekend.
All right.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Man, all right, guys. I'm going to try and get my energy back up for that intro that I was just about to drop.
Sorry, PJ.
No, but I think Devin and I met John 3 or 4 years ago now. And we met up at Dottie's, which is a local coffee shop. And I was super excited because there's not that many young entrepreneurs in our area, at least that I'm aware of. So if you guys are around, please come and talk to me, because I love those conversations. But we found out about Dipitus, and I'll get into a little bit more about John's company in a second. But even just sitting down with him, we talked for about 10 or 15 minutes, and we kind of hit on some topics like health, and we're going to get into ecological restoration a little bit, and kind of like sustainability. And we were just talking about a lot of things from the millennial perspective and like the young people perspective. And I really resonated a lot with what he had to say. And I was kind of blown away, honestly, and still am, like when I talk to him about his take and how he sees the world. So I'm really excited for this show today. And a little bit about Dipitus, which is the company we're going to talk a lot about today. Dipitus represents the hustle of a gangster and the intention of a hippie. And it's developed to bring the streets back to their roots. We provide apparel to the conscious gangster. It's our mission to inspire all of us to think beyond ourselves to the role we're playing in this ecosystem we all call life. So, yeah, if that doesn't get you excited for today, I don't know what will. We hit on dirt. We hit on that. I mean,
Right.
It's all
We
connected.
hit on consciousness and gangsterism.
so, yep. Well, officially welcome to the show, John. I know we're
Thank
excited
you.
to have you,
Thank
man.
you. Yeah, happy to be here.
All
It's
right.
crazy, this whole little operation here.
Yeah, you're seeing some of the background stuff.
Yeah,
For
that's
those of you
nice.
guys listening in, there's like another screen that Chris has up that shows all the technical live feed and some of the media we're going to show you guys and some videos we have prepared. So, but yeah, let's just get into it. tell us a bit about your background, man, and how you came to found this company Dipitus, and just your journey.
So I came up with the idea and developed the whole thing when I was in Amherst. I was going to school for landscape contracting. I recently got into permaculture, and I wanted to switch from landscape contracting to sustainable farming, but just some conflicts with my parents and stuff. Just they didn't really understand it. So I was like, all right, that makes sense. I was kind of like coming out of left field with this. So I finished it, and then while I was doing that, I was really into permaculture. I don't know if you guys are familiar with permaculture at all, but it's kind of, ties into the whole idea, everything's connected, diversity, just working together rather than trying to force. So I was getting really into that, and then I finished that degree at UMass, landscape contracting, and then I went to GCC for some permaculture stuff, and I was sitting in on these classes, and I guess I should go way back into sort of where this is rooted. I was like coming up through high school and stuff, and I was totally like distracted, and then I sort of had a revelation about the environment and how we spend our time, the impact we make with everything that we do. And I was like totally bumming off. And then I sort of flipped the whole script afterwards. And so then I was at GCC and learning about permaculture more in depthly. And I started just making connections, from the garden to society, from the garden to economics, and, the way we interact with all of those things sort of form our entire system as we know it. And it was interesting to me that we don't really have any grasp of that connection, like at least I don't feel that it's focused on or brought up into, our everyday sort of perspectives. And then I was trying to buy some earth conscious apparel that still maintained my, style, and I couldn't find anything like it. Like you get something that's 100% recycled materials, and it's like super earthy, crunchy. And I'm like sort of this hybrid where like I'm super into that, but I'm also still, I guess what it is like I said, the hustle or the intention of a hippie, the hustle of a gangster. There seems to be this weird gap of like earth conscious and capitalism. And I don't see why there can't be a balance in between sort of, conscious capitalism.
Yeah. There's like this divide. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's like all this extremism and there's stigmas. So people are like, oh, I don't want to recycle because like that's hippie, or I don't know. And then it's like weird.
Yeah.
Like,
that's so weird. Do you live on the earth? Do you want to care for the earth?
Do you care about the thing you live on?
Yeah.
It's like far out. I'm like, all right, well, if I'm the only one that's feeling this way, I can't be, so I'm going to fill this void.
Nice.
That's Dipitus.
Why the name Dipitus? I got to ask.
Oh, I left that out. So I started an Instagram called Serendipitous Nug. And I don't know if I can be saying this on the internet, but we would leave little.
Or you are.
Too
right
late,
now.
bro.
You are. It's there.
Yeah, man. Marijuana is legal, so it's all good.
No mulligans.
We were leaving little Easter eggs around, and the idea was that Instagram was a hub for people to connect, like anonymously, like random acts of kindness. And then I was like just joking about the idea at the time, and then I like said serendipitous mockingly, and then I was like, yo, serendipitous Nug, that's it. And then we started that. And then I felt this way about the apparel, so then I sort of just switched serendipitous Nug, dropped a few letters, and made it into Dipitus. And voila. Yeah, and it kind of makes sense, sort of the idea, serendipitous, coming across unexpected fortune. Dipitus is kind of based on the idea of if we're aware of these interactions we have with all these systems, we can kind of create our own unexpected fortunes. Things we don't realize will come of us being conscious of the interactions we make, the choices we make.
Some people that I follow call that just synchronicity in general, like being aware.
Right.
Being aware of what we want just kind of creates it innately.
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow them around on the bike path, or where do you follow them?
I follow them. Yeah, I creep around the bike path with my camera.
That one almost went over my head. I was like, what?
He's just like jabbing a rock into my ribs. That's all he's doing.
No, man, that's too true. Synchronicity. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's what led to it. You know, I was reading up on synchronicity and all that sort of jazz.
Nice.
Inspired me. You know.
So what kind of
no, go ahead.
Like what kind of moments have you created as far as with the taking that intention of these original serendipitous moments, whatever the vehicle, and like how is that manifested in the clothing brand for you? Because I know there was an awesome interview with you on the Frequency of the Unknown blog, and you talk about being branded and this idea of like kind of people wearing clothes just to rep the brand, but not actually like knowing the deeper meaning behind the brand. And if it's just got their logo on it, then, people will wear it and pay top dollar for it. But you had some really cool insights into kind of the direction that you're going with the branding of Dipitus. So I wanted to touch on that a bit.
So I feel like that creating it is sort of just happens in everyday life, when you're moving around with this sort of positivity, engaging in passerbyers, you just end up in conversations. But as far as Dipitus, it's my favorite part about it has been just like the connections that have derived from it. Because I guess we're like pretty relevant and prevalent rather in like bass music scene. And like when we're out there and people be like Dipitus, it's like instant fam, like always. Nice. And just by that, I've like gotten to link with all these people, end up backstage at things or link up with someone that's a good artist, or it's just like all these things have just sort of branched off it. And I don't even remember what I said in that interview about where I want to head with the brand. It was a long time ago.
It was about let's see. Can pull it up right now. It's one of the main things I stressed while developing the brand was not being branded. I find it strange that people wear clothes that are just brand names across their chest. Generally, I think people wear brands because the brand is at the forefront of a certain sport they're into or a wave, but it doesn't really go deeper than that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like me and my boss, we always say, I don't know Tommy Hilfiger. I don't know Calvin Klein. Like, why am I going to walk around with this dude's name on my chest? Like,
Nice.
And then you look at like Volcom, for example, people just rock their shit at the time, but then they sort of fade off. Just Live was super prevalent just because it said Just Live. And then, I don't know, it's just super strange to me. And there's sort of just hop on. So, like the idea behind this is, first of all, the clothes are as ethically sourced as possible. That's actually something I wanted to touch on was transitional ethics, which I learned while I was in Costa Rica, because I used to get jammed up on this big time, because it's really hard for me to source the sort of clothes that I want that have the style, because like I said, they tend to be put towards a certain group. But so like recycling materials, environmentally conscious, the social ecosystem would be, right now I'm trying to develop community gardens.
Nice.
Hopefully off of Tyler Street, and some of the proceeds would go towards funding that.
Cool. So we're going to get to that stuff. Let's back up for just a sec, because you mentioned something really, really, really important. And you asked a question. You were talking about the conversation you had with your boss, and you asked a question about, why are these guys like wearing this Hilfiger thing, and what does that really mean? So let's talk about this. This is your Dipitus logo. Tell us about that and what that really represents.
The Dipitus logo. It was sort of brought into fruition by my first artist, which is Josh Stewart. Shout out to him. I sort of gave him an idea and he just ran with it, you know. This logo, the wear what you stand for, you know, is the hashtag, not so much the logo, but you know that.
I noticed we got a nice tree actually making your tea in here. We've got a foundation. We have all the elements in here, and you talked already a little bit about ecological restoration. So I think one thing that we found as we were looking at all the articles, all the interviews, and talking, I know Devin and PJ were talking with you outside of this show. There's a meaning behind what you're doing, and I think wearing this logo may come with that meaning. Can you speak a bit to that?
Can you give me I'm not sure what you mean. Like you saying that it will develop to where that wearing that label represents what you stand for, ideally?
Well, I'm asking what message you want to send if somebody wears that logo. Like you were saying, hey, Hilfiger, what's Hilfiger? Well,
Right.
what's Dipitus?
Dipitus is a sort of way of, you know, that's sort of why I sort of turned to this conscious gangster wave, because I think that is more descriptive of what it stands for, what that means, you know. I guess Calvin Klein and such things are solely fashion based, but Dipitus would be intent based. You know?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I wasn't really planning to go here yet in this conversation, but this is interesting. So why do you think that is? Like, why is it mostly like most of the brands we wear, it's about fashion and like that it has some meaning of status even in society? Like, why don't we have more brands that represent intent?
Right, yeah, because those brands are all made the same exact way by the same people. Tommy Hilfiger, like, you know, like it doesn't make any sense to me. But I think, you know, now these things are becoming more popular. People aren't just mindlessly consuming and buying things. They're like, yo, what's actually good with this? You know, I think that we're the first generation that's sort of the balance, that we're the check and the balance of like this infinite growth that the generations before us had. Like they never had to look back. They were just full steam ahead, like getting after it. And now we're like, whoa, we went a little too fast there. And now, like, you know, like we're the ones that I think are sort of starting to question how this operates.
Yeah. I think that actually really relates to a video. I don't know if or when the video is coming in, but that like super relates to a video that we're going to play in a little while or now or something.
We can play it now, yeah.
Yeah, it's like all about how millennials are kind of waking up to this idea of conscious consumerism and like what that means for generation. I guess all the four of us are all millennials, so what that means for our generation and what the shift in economics is that comes along with that.
Nice. So take a look at the video, and we'll be right back.
Application of personal economics
Cool. So
towards
they can't
goods
hear
and
us right now.
services that have a social and environmental aspect entrenched into their business models. This charge is really being led by millennials.
What's
In
up,
a Nielsen
Reset
survey
Live?
as well, 73% of millennial respondents said that they were willing to pay more for goods and services that had an environmental and social impact.
Alex & Ani has made its jewelry from upcycled and recycled materials. It
could
uses an ethical and sustainable supply chain. The brand has given over $30 million back to humanitarian causes via partnerships with global charities. And the brands that are going to win tomorrow are ones that are marketing to the shared values of this conscious consumer.
I think they could hear us.
All right. Now we're back. There was.
My mom said no sound.
Yeah, we just got that on our end too. So
what's been happening?
Let me tell you. I'll take 5 seconds and just let you guys know what happened. So we transitioned to the video. The sound was playing. I tried to mute the sound, and that would have restarted the video. So then when I brought us back in, it muted the sound at that point. So little technical malfunctions today all over the place.
So were our listeners and our viewers and our awesome peoples able to hear the video as well, or no?
They were able to hear the video, they were able to hear us talking over the video, unfortunately. And then when we came back, they weren't able to hear us saying anything. Okay. So our mouths were moving, and it was like bad subtitles for Chinese movies.
Well, that video really talks a lot about how millennials are really leading when it comes to conscious consumerism and supporting businesses who are backing social and environmental causes. And we were on this thread a little bit. I think Jon was saying we're like the generation that's kind of checking the skyrocket business trajectory we've been on, and the capital, kind of how capitalism has grown and grown without really paying attention. Just, there are some negatives. There are some things, we've definitely done a lot of damage to, the environment, and we've done, a lot of polluting, and we could get into, it's not really the conversation today, but there's the whole conversation of money inequality. But why do you think, Jon, now is the time to kind of reflect and to start questioning that trajectory, and to start really, why is conscious consumerism taking off with millennials?
So when I said it before, I was basing it off, I read this book. It was called The Myth of Progress. And it pretty much talked about, I just gave the short little blurb there, but talked about how our entire civilization was based on this idea of infinite growth. And when you look at the way nature grows, nature's a system that's been showing us how to survive for billions of years. They have natural checks and balances. They have competition, but not to exploitation. They self-organize through competition. It's a more balanced way of growing. If you look at the way a tree grows, it's all the phloem, the xylem makes up the cambium, and it grows from the inside out. And then when it gets to the top, something comes down. But it's just a more balanced way to grow. And I think that, I don't know, there's other times in history where things went sour, but maybe now we see it again, and we're like, all right, how many times are we going to do this? How many times are we going to build up, collapse? Like, there's got to be a different way. And I don't know, we are the products of our parents and them, their grandparents each. So, things get passed down. I don't know what's caused it in us, but most of us are feeling it. We're like, what's going on?
So I think a big piece of this that's exactly like why we started Reset, is this alternative to a lot of the structures that we've built as a society, whether it's media and the media industry that we've had shows, and we'll have plenty more shows about how screwed up the media as a whole is, and just the lack of holistic thinking in how the education system interacts with the media system, and how it creates the people that we are today in combination with our family and our friends. But there's this really cool movement that's going on with people like you and people that we've interviewed in the past, and hopefully ourselves, that are building something, as that's going beyond just the conscious consumerism to conscious entrepreneurship, and actually being like, well, like you said, you were going for something that had this conscious thought behind it, but still rocked the style that you liked and resonate with. And it's really easy to watch Netflix. It's super easy to order Amazon and never leave your house, and get takeout pizza all the time, and just chill and just enjoy your life, rock the 9 to 5 and not do much more, and say the world is fucked. What am I going to do about it?
Right.
But how do we get people to actually be like, no, like, I'm going to do something about it.
Like,
I don't know. You know, yeah, like you could change.
Who's gonna do it? That's the way I see it. Everyone's waiting for some president, someone to come in with like a solve-all solution to all of our bullshit, and no one's gonna do that. Like, it's up to you. It's up to us to do this. I don't know. Like, there's two sides I feel right now, and then there's the third, and they're like trying to figure out which side they want to get onto. But it's like totally like this is on me, or it's like fuck it, we can't do anything anyways.
Yeah, it's like,
so it's like apathy or masochism.
That's, yeah, I don't know what those words are, to be honest. So I'm gonna look.
So apathy is not caring, and masochism is like hurting yourself for this the feigned belief of a better good.
Or just like enjoying pain. Masochism is like enjoying pain.
Yeah,
our
John.
CTO is like a dictionary too.
A dictionary.
You're just blowing my mind, Chris.
I studied the thesaurus. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't study the thesaurus.
No, that's actually that was actually pretty good.
No, that's insightful.
Yeah, if I use better words, 5-year-old words.
That's insightful, and
yeah,
I think honestly, if I could speak candidly, maybe use some more big vocabulary. That's part of my pain. Like, that's part of my.
I don't know what that means.
I'm actually gonna explain it to you.
Okay. But. Just try. Good.
Oh, you meant the word?
No, I was fucking with you, man.
Totally
keep going. Just keep going.
That's part of like my pain, and I think you guys can resonate with this. Like, I'm always conflicted. Clearly, like with Reset and with what Jon's doing with Dipitus, like we're investing our time and our energy into doing things differently and into creating new solutions, and into not turning a blind eye. A blind eye. Or a blonde eye, if you have one. But like sometimes I get frustrated with that when I see other people that, like, honestly, they turn that blind eye. The shutters are on. Netflix is up, right? Like,
yeah, I feel that so hard.
I'm almost jealous, honestly. Like in some ways, I'm jealous. Like, because I couldn't. It's not in me to not do anything anymore.
Yeah,
it might have been like 5 years ago. It could have been not anymore.
Like, no, that's beautiful. It's within that emotional turmoil that I found I always rekindle my motivation for everything we're doing.
Yeah, it's funny because if I stop doing anything, I feel it's not even guilt anymore. It's like I was actually talking to my fiance about this the other day. Ren, we had her on the show. She's hosted the show, whatever. But
Ren.
Hey, Ren.
Hey, Ren.
Hey, Ren. So I find that when I'm not doing something, it's not about feeling guilty about not working. It's feeling guilty about not making a change. So if in a half an hour I make an impact on 0 people, or even a piece of an impact on 0 people, I don't feel good about how I'm using my time, which is my only limited resource. But if I'm making a huge change in a half an hour, I feel really satisfied. It's a total paradigm shift.
Yeah, I feel that.
So I'm actually interested to ask you, based on that, what are some of the insights you've gained based on your journey with Dipitus, with entrepreneurship, that you'd like to pass on to the future generations?
Damn. In regards to, can you give me a little more?
Whatever.
It could be entrepreneurship, and like start like I would personally like the context of like actually getting off the couch and like how have you felt about like starting this company and having a purpose, as opposed to, you know, I'm sure you've had other points in life like pre-Dipitus, like how has that shift been for you, where it's like, you know, this is bullshit but I'm not actually doing anything about it, to like now this is bullshit and I'm trying to change it?
What just came to my mind was like like what PJ just said, like the back and forth, you know, like since I started 2 years ago, and I drove myself crazy, you know, because there's a climb, and like I was just stressed out so hard all the time. And then I was just like, that was when I went to Costa Rica for 3 months, and I just like dropped the whole thing. It was like dunzo. And then I came back and like went back to everyday life. And then I lost that purpose. That I'm like, yo, what am I doing? Then I went back to Dipitus, and now I finally see it like in me more so than I did before. Every brand's only going to be as big as the person that's running it. And I was limiting the whole thing before, and now I feel very sound, structured in moving forwards. Whereas before I was just kind of running around like, whoa, I just started this thing. What do I do now?
Yeah, right.
And like you expect it to go so fast, but it doesn't. Like you need to put in work every single day. You need to get up out of bed. Dude, that's like, I'm so wavy with that. I go from like a month of like hardcore grinding to like a month of just like, to
like introspection, looking inside.
For real. I mean, a month to month is a little dramatic, but I go in these like streaks. But now I've started to find reoccurring like signs, you could say. Like when I catch myself in a slump, I'm like, my room's dirty. I'm like, dude, like a month ago, your shit was clean all the time. I'm like, all right, got to clean my room. Like I got to make this step to get back to where I was, or I'll stop reading, and then I'll be like, okay, what aren't you doing? You're not reading. So then I'll get back into that, and that'll give me the juices flowing again and get me back to my feet.
So we normally ask this question at the beginning, but seems like the perfect time. What was your reset moment? So what was the moment where everything changed into what you're expressing right now?
The first one I started Dipitus was a psychedelic experience. And I literally came out of it. I went
with
in
serendipitous nug.
With serendipitous nug, man.
The foundation.
Best nug around. No, I went into it and like, I was messing up. I was in high school. I didn't really care about anything. I was like, got into things way too young. So I was just like mindlessly just like caught up in the wrong stuff, And I had this experience and I came out of it and like everything just sort of clicked in terms of, I was sitting there and I'm like, what am I actually doing? Like, I'm just running around doing all these things mindlessly, but what am I doing? And then I found purpose in the environment, in people, and I don't know, I guess I just created purpose in myself, and that made me feel more comfortable with, this existence that we have. I don't know. I guess I'm a pretty introspective dude in general. So, nice. I don't know. But that was sort of what started the whole pace for the way I perceive society now,
So
yeah, and it's really sorry, Chris.
No, man, I'm on a roll.
It's that lens, right? Like, how do you see the world? How do you choose to see the world? And like, once you have that lens,
with that too,
it evolves, right? Like, it evolves, and as you get more experience, whether it's in business, whether it's in like relationships and family, like taking care of yourself, all those things. But like that lens that you create for yourself and like you choose to see the world, and like once you have that, or you're working up from that, like that's the way forward for you. And I resonate with what you're saying.
Totally. Because then once you have it, you're like, how was I? How do you go on without this lens that I got here?
Yeah, like, what am I supposed to just break it and be like, nah, that never happened? Like, I never saw what I saw? Like, what?
Yeah, I agree with that 100.
So true.
So, there's one thing I think you've done really well with Dipitus, and that's, I think you talked about it in your interview as well, but you really made a brand, like, cool and hip. And even if you go through Dipitus's Instagram, and you see, like, it's a lifestyle, like, you got, like, a lifestyle vibe. Like, you have your friends and people like, everybody's wearing the swag. They got the shirts on. They got the hats. Like, they're out having fun. Like, there's shots of, like, beautiful scenery. Sometimes it's, like, having a beer at, like, a festival or something. Like, how did you make it cool? And, like, what did you learn along the way of kind of sharing what you're doing with other people and getting them, not only, like, bought in, but about it?
Right. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing, you know, is make conscious cool. I like hate saying it because it sounds so corny, but like that's sort of what the whole idea behind the whole thing was, and that's the idea behind the community gardens and stuff. You know, I want to have community involved where. So to answer that question, shout out to the homies. Like we roll deep everywhere we go. It's like all love. Like I don't know. I honestly can thank them for everything. You know, I'll throw a party. They're the ones there. We're just super positive squad, and people recognize that, you know, like, so that was probably, people see that. And then also Kuz, who did the first series of designs, had a great following as well. And like I said, we were in the sort of the bass music scene. Kuz is super deep into it. He's a renowned pin artist, and people love him. So when they found out he was doing the art, they automatically were all about it. So it was just kind of this cool blending of groups that were all into the same thing, I guess you could say. And then, you know, I think we're still trying to make it cool. I don't know if we're there yet, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like the community gardens, you know, I love the idea of like young hip kids, you know, like me and my friends wearing these shirts that are kind of, so like the design we got coming out, the double cup of fruit, the grills with vegetables sticking out, the Lorax on some vigilante shit. Like if we're out here gardening and these neighborhood kids are coming up, they're like, yo, these kids are cool. Like, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? And we're like, yo, what's good? We're playing food. You guys want to learn how? We can teach them. We can give them grow at home sets. You know, like make positivity cool, you know?
Yes. So powerful. I just want to take a second.
You know? And I think that spreads just being like people remember the way you make them feel. You know, not who you are, they remember how you make them feel.
Yes.
There you go. Nice.
Is that from who said that? I feel like that's from a book that I've read or something similar. Maybe it was
Gary
a blog
V?
post or no.
Really?
No.
It's like,
all right.
I don't know.
I mean, he might have reiterated it, but
yeah, I think that was like some.
I was actually the first one.
Yeah. Boom.
yeah.
I must have seen it. I was preeminent.
Just kidding.
No, that's fucking. It's. Yeah.
There you go. Hey, John, your video is a little choppy. Can you still hear us? I don't know if John's still with us. All right.
So one of the reasons that I don't know if you're jumping into another segment, but I just wanted to touch on like one of the reasons that I think we resonated so well in that first meeting that we had together between you, PJ, and I is like blown away how well read you are and like how many books you read. And you touched on like earlier, like, am I still reading? Like, what's the well, I've got two questions. What are you reading now? And what is the book that you think has had like a really big impact? I don't want to say like most impact. It's like, what's your favorite movie? You know, depends on the day, but like what's had a really, really big impact on you and you think more people should read? I'm going to start with what I'm reading. Cool. Well, I'm going to close some of these apps I got going, see if they help me out with my connection. Close that. Right now I'm reading Biocentrism, which is this crazy book that all three of you would love. It's pretty much the basis, without going too deep into it, is that biology should be the basis of our existence because our consciousness in the way we perceive is the only reason that we can study the world. And without biology, I don't know. So it's trippy. And I actually let it go down for a little while, but I just picked it back up. The only way we can perceive the world is through our consciousness. So we should start with our consciousness before we can start discovering, where all this comes from. But then the other one, Tools of Titans, I just started, and like that one is just a lot.
So that's going to be red. I'm pretty sure my entire
heavy.
life I'm going to keep Tools and Titans on my nightstand.
Yes.
It's
freaking good.
It's been in my office since it arrived.
Yeah, like you just read that every day. You just pick a random, it's so good.
Cool.
Yeah. So anybody who doesn't know Tim Ferriss, look him up. If you like being better at anything, just look him up.
There you go. So we're going to take a quick break, guys. We're going to come back and talk about some of the products that Jon has, some of his manufacturing practices, and some other really cool questions. So stay tuned to Reset Live.
My name is Andrew Figueroa. I'm from Irvine, California. I'm a hip-hop artist and a theater maker and an arts educator. I feel like all three of those are kind of like my form. What I'm really interested in doing is understanding about how all these different aspects of the media and your experiences in classrooms from, elementary school into college, as well as your own intimate relationship with your family and your culture can define what you are, and then how you begin to perform that identity. One of the conversations that we're beginning to have on a national level is race, but I think what's lacking from that conversation is like a racialized class discussion, and thinking about how class, economic background really plays a part in how you see yourself and also how others see you. And I think one thing that's really huge for me is understanding how communities of color are taking how media defines, brown and black identity, but then begin to internalize that and then police it back onto our own community. Brown and black people will define a strong identity of what it means to be brown and black in order to gain power, because with that unification comes political power. But what happens with that is now that since they're defining it and kind of boxing in what it means to be like a Latino or a Mexican in this country, it doesn't leave room for growth. Since we've been excluded our whole lives in this country, historically, we now want to use those same tools in order to gain power, which is, I think is important, but at the same time sad. I think what I would like to reset is the idea of the United States and how we approach our problems. I want to save, let's reset the, police killings or like the millions of deportations that happen every year, and just the fucking border in general, this idea of land as property that's owned by somebody, and ownership only happening over killing other people, Let's reset the American flag and what that means.
And we are back to Reset Live. Thank you guys for joining us. If you're just tuning in, we have Jon Vella from the company Dipitus, and we're talking about becoming a conscious gangster. So there's a lot of context in that, but I know, Devin, you had some stuff to say.
Well, I want to appreciate the fact that you gave people context, because I don't think we do that enough when we come back from break.
Yeah,
so,
right on.
Thank you.
Well done. So what I wanted to bring up is you've really taken a brand and made it into kind of a movement. This hashtag, wear what you stand for. And this being this combination of a conscious gangster and really kind of flipping the script on a lot of what we think of, when you hear the word gangster, people get certain connotations in it. And when you hear the word hippie, you get a lot of connotations with that too.
Exactly.
Depending on who you are, positive and negative in both lights. So how did you get that combination? How did you become a conscious gangster? Kind of what was the backstory, kind of how you grew up into that? How did you connect those?
I come from just a blue collar family. My dad's, neither of my parents went to college. They just busted their ass their whole lives, and they did well. Lucky enough to have them put me through school. So, I've always had that grinding attitude. And then, like I said, that awakening experience sort of made me take a step back. And then I dove deep into that little rabbit hole, and then I started being anti-consumerism, but then I like wasn't really doing anything. So it was like these sort of like waves, you know. I was like super up, and then I was kind of like, nah, like I don't support this, I don't support that, and then that wasn't getting me anywhere. That sort of mentality, and it was just, I'm like, wait, I can do both here. You know what I mean? I can.
Yeah, it's kind of like the yin and the yang almost.
Yeah,
it's just like
it is.
These
That's
two
true.
like totally separate parts that work. But I mean, it freaking resonates with me personally, because I feel like I'm kind of somewhere in the, I mean, you know, I wouldn't say I'm gangster, like,
well, that's the thing too, though. It's like everyone's got their own gangster, so to speak, you know, like just a boss, just you know, an athlete, you know, it's just sort of the mentality of like, I'm gonna go get this, you know.
That
bring it,
kind of alpha, like, like let's fucking tackle this. Let's climb this mountain, you know, take on the challenge, fight the tiger, kind of shit. And then like hippie's kind of like, you know, the hugging the tree. You can't really can't see a hippie getting into an MMA, you know, in the MMA scene.
We have an equally. Can you tell us about this picture? We're just going to take a little tangent. We need to know about this. Since you held up the thing.
Oh, that thing is so good.
What are we looking at?
It is so old school, too. This is from, like, I was a senior in high school, and I have not changed my Facebook, whatever that thing's called, since then. Like, this thing, you know, that was the start of my digging deep into hippieism, I'd say.
That's quite a dig.
There's a lot, you know, the old picture is worth 1,000 words. There's a lot going on there.
Can you give us like 10? I just really want to know.
10 words on this?
Yeah, like what are we looking at, man?
You know, we're looking at pyramid type figure, which represents the media and, you know, the Rothschilds, and they're playing the TV, mind spinning these sheep into
television,
them,
right?
And probably leading them to some sort of abyss. It looks like they're leaving the city.
All right.
Yeah. I just want to.
Sorry about that tangent, guys, but
I got to bring in a little bit of biophysics into it as well. It's also the pyramid was blocking out the sun. So getting the sun, people.
Let's take another look. The pyramid was blocking out the sun.
It is blocking out the sun. Yeah, so
definitely intentional.
Look at me, not the sun. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Leading them away from the sun.
All right. Well, John, you got a lot of depth to you.
You're like an ogre. A lot of layers.
Yeah, I'm glad you continued.
Shrek jokes? Any Shrek fans out here?
There's layers.
Man.
So
one of these shows really do just.
What?
I got a question for you.
What?
Well, actually, we've been talking a lot about conscious consumerism, and we've been talking about this idea that you know, I really, really like, John, that you said everything comes from consciousness, so we should start with consciousness if we want to make change. So how can we use that idea that we talked about of conscious consumerism to reset the outdated industrial and corporate practices that exist now? What's your take on that?
So where my mind goes with that is I recently read this article about how this whole idea that our individual purchasing power doesn't ultimately affect the you know, the whole industry, because the main buyers and purchasers of all of these things that we like don't want are schools and other federal systems. They're the large consumers of all of these products. So it's really hard for us as civilians to, you know, like, I think it was just like a small percentage of the usage of these things were like the individual. But I think that that's still, you know, the whole idea that we're the ones that make the difference, you know, ultimately is everything, you know. The bigger people can't exist without the littler people, you know, like, you know, as they say, like, if we don't buy it, I think ultimately, you know, like, it's just going to sit there. They can't sell it if we don't buy it. They can't, like.
And I want to get in on this one because I've got a lot of thoughts. And and going back to what you were saying a few minutes ago, you were talking about like, I went through this wave of anti-consumerism and like not buying, and which, you know, if we go back to millennials leading conscious consumerism, right, we are buying, right, but we're buying based on our values. And like, that's like, yeah, step one, you're like, wow, like there's this product that's produced by a big company and they don't really care about the environment, and they don't really, they care about, you know, bottom line and profits. And of course, that's part of business. Like, you have to make money, you have to be profitable to do what you're doing. Like, we do get that, like, that's a fact. But the opportunity to start selling products more consciously, building, growing products more consciously, more sustainably, like in the avenues, you know, it's not about just not buying, but it's about supplanting what's there and growing, overgrowing it, right? And there's this really, I want to transition with that thought into, I was listening to a Sam Harris podcast, and it was one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to. And it was about this topic. It was about the big entities like Facebook, like Google. And they were talking about how, you know, in a normal city that stood up maybe in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s, like you had your big malls and you had your downtown area, and it was all about the shops, and it was all about getting out in the community and buying physically, like being in the store. And now we buy so many things online that, you know, Amazon and Facebook in particular, they're like they're laying like the new city landscape, so to speak, like for us to travel and traverse. Because like, how many, you can look up the stats. I mean, the amount of time the average person spends on Facebook is unbelievable, and the community size is what, like close to 2 billion or something. So,
and the amount of data they track too. But that's an interesting.
Well, that's what I wanted to get into. Okay, so check this
1,200 different points. Go ahead.
He says, I can't stop, won't stop. He says, Facebook's mission is more or less, I'm paraphrasing here, you know, to connect the globe, right? Dope mission. Like, and they do some awesome things. Like, love Facebook. We're on Facebook right now. We get to talk to you guys and interact with you on Facebook. But you know what he said? He said, they don't measure that though. They measure how much time you spend on the platform. They measure, you know, how much money they can make through their advertising. Like, so going back to this idea of being more conscious, like, and being in alignment and trying to sail a ship, you know, build a company, sail a company in a direction that maintains its alignment and like its congruency with the values that it represents. Like, that is that's the challenge, right?
Yeah, it's gotta be. You know, once you get to a certain level and you're just getting pestered by like all these people that are like, yo, you're doing it wrong, you could be making this much money, and you're like,
and that's all they want to tell you. Like, we were having a great conversation with Avi Dresler, who did a great write-up for Reset in the Berkshire Eagle, and he was saying to us, like, you guys are gonna have to give in and cop out eventually. Like,
sell
you know,
out, right?
He was gesturing, he was having fun with us. It was just a joke, but it was like, no, like, I don't think I can do that. Like, that would break everything that I like. The whole point. That's the whole point. That's the point.
That's the whole point.
So anyway, that's my little rant. Sorry, guys.
That reminds me.
No, that's really good.
What are the we're working through our business plan right now with some awesome support from Score. And
shout out to Score. Yeah.
Shout out to Score. Get involved if you're in small business. And Chris, what did he say to you? It was like, are you willing to sell your soul? Or
so my mentor, who will remain unnamed for his own privacy, asked me, we were talking about getting startup capital. And I asked him the question, like, what do we need to do to make our business look attractive for an investor? And of course, we're going to do whatever that takes, and we're going to have it set up. The numbers are going to be set up in whatever way it takes. But he sat down. He's like, all right, sit down. I sat down. He's like, are you willing to sell your future or your soul for that investment? Because are you willing to sell your future in terms of a loan, or your soul in terms of equity and the hard work that you put in?
It's like, that's what companies face when they like that. I mean, he was trained in, you know, the old school ways, and, you know, maybe I think that was a big realization for you, Chris, and it seemed like you related that to us, that was a big realization, like, whoa, maybe this isn't the route, or, you know, it doesn't have to be the route that we're taking, because I mean, those two options don't sound very good to me personally. And he makes a good point. And
yeah, it's kind of like that. That's what all older people will say to you.
Yeah,
that's interesting. And that reminds me of our first episode where we talked about the Generation X and Generation Y and bridging that gap, right? Because there's this older paradigm that's out there, and then we, as the millennials, not only have to be the stewards of a new paradigm, but also pay homage to those guys who have laid that groundwork. I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, the internet, right? Our forefathers, one generation ago, built the internet, built a system of data, right? They set up a framework to collect real-time data about the world and handed that over to us. And look at what we're building. Like, we're on Facebook right now. We could talk to people in Japan, you know? That's just an incredible thing to think about.
That's wild.
And I think this goes back to what John was saying earlier about there's no, like, you know, pay X amount of dollars, all your problems are solved. Like, going back to the idea of the individual and, like, you know, that we have to choose to wrestle with these things and try to find solutions and work towards those things with like-minded people.
Matter if we give in,
or just throw up the blinders, you know?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, like, that's what it all comes down to. I think, you know, no matter as we climb, you know, as millennials climb, it's what just popped in my head is it's going to be interesting to see. You know, say we're all 40, we're all 50, like, we're the older generation, we're going up, and, like, really the whole changing of the paradigm is going to be if we can get like-minded people as us into these big corporate positions, and it's going to be really hard to get them there sharing, you know, this vision. I feel like it's going to be interesting to see.
So that actually brings up a really, really interesting question for me before we get into your products and take a look at some of the clothing. People in the comments were asking to see some of the clothing and some of the people wearing the clothing and that kind of stuff.
And
so
I got one other clothing
question?
Well.
Okay.
Clothing. I got a clothing question and a closing question.
Right. So I just want to ask you this, John, and then Devin's question, and then we'll start to talk about what it is, like where people can buy your stuff, what your stuff looks like, all that stuff. So great conversation on this millennial thing, right? On the blocks that corporations face and this old money paradigm. But you've done a really good job of taking a message, taking a cause, getting customers, getting supporters, and having them bring it to life, right? Having them take what it is that you saw in your head, that your partner saw in their head, and really bring it into existence. How do you do that? That's one way. I love it, PJ.
Yeah. I just thought it, man, and I made it happen. You know, that's sort of how I went at it.
Sometimes that's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought about it for a while, you know, rolled around in bed until 4 a.m. I'm like, this is actually sick. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. And then, yeah, I think that's the beauty of, you know, the network, the social network. You know, I think that the internet, right now, the internet is leading us, and mankind needs to face a maturation that will be caused by the internet. Like, we don't actually know how to use this shit. We're on the forefront of it.
That's a really good point.
I love that.
People are just running around like, oh, this is sick. But, like, yo, what's the bad side of us just mindlessly diving into this?
Yeah. And, like, the internet, you can see anything and everything you want to see that's out there. Like, we can look up some crazy stuff that's happening, like, as far as, you know, like, maybe some stuff in the Middle East, or we can look up, like, famine or flood damage, or, you know,
anything you want to know, really.
Some amazing new business expo,
should be our greatest tool.
like, in Europe. Like, I don't want to go just negative. Like, it can be anything, right? And it's like we're getting a reflection back to us of, like, this idea you said of, like, what consciousness is.
It's resonance
like,
theory, right? Is that what it's called?
I'm not sure, but that seems
that sounds really cool. Like, we're getting real time feedback on anything that we're thinking. Like, whether it's how you want to improve yourself, how you want to improve society. You ask Google a question, you'll know. You'd spend 2-3 days or less. And you'll have the answer.
Yeah, and it's showing us ourselves, like, the good and the bad. Like, that's something I've been working through.
Yeah, it's wild.
So, Devin, did you have something, or did you ask her something, or?
I did not ask my something.
What is your something?
So I think we're really trying to, you know, like our tagline is rethink everything. And I want to start bringing more questions kind of like around that. So something that Tim Ferriss, I think, has asked of some of his people. So building off of that, Tools of Titans, what is something that you believe that a lot of people either don't believe or think is crazy, or, you know, like, I don't want to put crazy because that, you know, that paints it in a negative light, but like, what is something that you really believe that you wish other people either knew or were like, yes.
In general?
Yeah, in general. It could be like, you know, aliens are in the White House. You know, it could be
flat Earth theory.
Yeah, flat Earth.
I guess I'll start with flat Earth theory. No, I'm just playing. Aliens, since you brought that up, 100%.
Absolutely.
Want to get conspiracal? I'm going to throw the 9/11 out there.
Ooh, yeah.
Throw, you know, quantum levels out there. I think if you sit down with me for a while, then I'll end up saying a lot of things.
We could have a whole show on
Sorry
that.
to cut you off, but you totally sparked something for me that I have that so relates to this. I was not wine like that, though.
No. I was Sam Richards. I'm giving a shout out to Sam Richards because she gave me a shout out. Are you
drinking on the show, bro?
I'm drinking Malbec. I'm drinking Argentinian Malbec.
In your Pellegrino bottle.
And my Pellegrino. Yeah, it's a good local beer. Yeah, like we're classy people here at Reset.
All right.
Sometimes.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, this just touching on, you know, the word conspiracy theory, that's not really the right word, but this idea of like alternative truths and things that not everybody buys into. I was having this conversation with my cousin about earthing and gaining electrons from having your feet, like your body, connected to the earth, because like you're conductive, like you're a bioelectric being, right? And he was kind of like, he was just asking questions really, but he was like, is that really real? Like, is that a real thing? And I was like, let me put it this way. Think of like society today. And you know, there's a lot of messed up shit going on with society. What if I told you that the society we've built and like the ideas that we propagate throughout our culture, like some of them are bullshit? Would you believe that?
Right. I always say that. When
I rest my point.
Exactly. I'm like, how are you going to believe all this other shit? And now I'm crazy? Like, what? Why are you so confident?
Yeah. Why are you confident that I'm not crazy and you, or that I am crazy and you aren't?
Yeah. The things that we've been told aren't the whole truth. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about that picture. Again.
Seriously.
So let's get into some Dipitus products and get those up on the screen. And,
here we are.
Sweet.
Yeah, we got to get a better array. I wish we had the new products on here.
I can't. We can
drop them in the show notes or something.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if we actually mentioned the fact that PJ's wearing one of your hats as well.
Yeah, show that off. I got hold on.
Take a look. Let me switch back over.
Yeah, you gotta show it off.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
there's the shirt.
Here's all the designs mean something. So that one is, I call it Kings of the Jungle, and you know it's based off the idea.
That's this one in the upper right now, right?
Yep, exactly. In nature, things don't compete to the point of exploitation. So like they self-organize, but once people fall into their place, they all work together and grow together. So this is like the 4 Kings of the Jungle, and they're all kicking it.
Nice.
Little play on that whole idea. The one I got on is the Giving Tree. It's the alternative ending. It's a story.
Can you hold that up a little longer for people to see? Cool. But oh wow, you got like a whole interesting.
Yeah. So if you don't know the Giving Tree, it's a story about a little boy who starts taking from the Giving Tree. Starts with apples, and then by the end of the book. It's by Shel Silverstein. By the end of the book, he's sitting on the stump crying. He had chopped the tree down and he took everything the tree had. Whereas this old homie grew old with it, and they're both still killing it.
That's cool. Let's talk about this girl in the upper left. It's kind of a little hard to see that design. Let me try to change it up so you might be able to see it better on your screen, John.
Which one are you talking about? It's the Pachamama.
Yeah. Yeah, let's tell us about that.
It's based off of the indigenous people of the Andes idea of Mother Earth. Rather than Mother Earth being a godly figure, Mother Earth is one single organism, which we're all composed of. And everything is.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Cool. And then, of course, we have the signature hoodie in the middle.
Yep, just a little team stamp.
Got the elements on the sleeve there.
Yep.
Yeah. So we
on all the sleeves
we just took those off the screen, but let's tell people where they can go. Like, how can I get one of those awesome Pachamama shirts or the Giving? I love your Giving Tree shirt. So where can people go to get that stuff?
Oh yeah. In Pittsfield, you can go to Shire Glass or Dottie's. Should have said Dottie's first because that's my
homage. Pay homage.
Yeah. Those are the only two spots in Pittsfield. Nature's Closet up in Williamstown has a few of them, which they chose to carry. And you can get them online at www.dipitus.co.
And that is dipitus.co.
We'll be linking it in the show notes.
If you're local, there is a local pickup option. So there's some things that Dottie's and Shire don't carry. So if you order it online, we can figure out.
Beautiful.
Local pickup.
So what's coming up next, man? Like, you got the products, you've got this awesome vision, you're talking conscious consumerism. We dug into some really heavy topics here on the show. What's coming? What are you doing?
Right now we got these 3 designs that I'm super stoked about, which I touched base on, the double cup of fruit. They're all sort of plays on popular culture and making Dipitus. But I got lined up, so there's this plot of land on the corner of Cherry and Tyler, which happens to be part of my dad's laundromat, where I am able to put in the first Dipitus garden. So I'm really stoked for all of these new designs to come out with the Dipitus garden, because like I said, I think it's going to be really impactful having me and my friends there planting this garden with the intention of sharing it with the community and people asking what's going on, and then having community work days where you come and get one of these t-shirts, and then we start to, get the ball rolling on this whole community and sort of changing the way we operate as a community. Real
quick, John, because I don't think we actually touched on it as far as the sourcing of like the materials and because you source as consciously as possible. So can you tell us about that? Just a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So t-shirts are the most accessible so this is 35% organic cotton, 45% or 65% recycled polyester.
Nice.
The other ones are 50-50. And then sometimes I've had to branch into just 100% organic or just 100% American made or recycled materials. I try to hit base on at least one of them.
That's beautiful, though, because, going back to that question of, how do you maintain alignment and congruency? I wanted you to be able to tell people listening in, that's what you're doing. That's another,
And that idea of transitional ethics is a really fascinating one that I think we'll have to explore at another point, because that's it's a really, we could do a whole show about transitional ethics.
Yeah,
that would be dope.
Yeah, nice. So, anything else you want to say to the audience, or anything else you want to say to the people watching?
Shout out,
John. We've got quite a few people tuned in. 262 views at this point. 983 people have seen the video. We got Daryl Bell Jr. just joined, Ren, Sam Richards, Gail.
Oh, yeah,
we got a lot of people.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for having me. Since you made me shout out the homies before for spreading this, shout out to all the homies for spreading this, and you guys as well, and everyone that wants to be a part of it. Come dip with us, as we say.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, guys. So keep an eye out for more episodes of Reset Live. Keep an eye out for Dipitus. Head on over to Dipitus. What was it? .co, you said, right?
.co, yeah.
Dipitus.co. And if you like today's show, definitely subscribe to the show. Go like the Rethink Everything page that you'll see publish the show. So it shouldn't be just hover over the name, hit like or subscribe, whatever you see there. And we cannot put this show together without your support, you guys watching. So if you like the show, if you want to support the show, if you want to see more awesome guests like John, head on over to patreon.com/ResetLive. Reset Live, R3. Make sure you get the 3, S-E-T, live. All right. Anything else? Awesome. Any last words for the audience before we head out?
Just much love. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in and participating in this elevation of consciousness. And
get grounding. Enjoy the sun.
Oh yeah, get grounding. And,
don't follow the mainstream.
Just want to thank Jon for coming on, man. We've been looking forward to this, and I think we slam dunked it. So, thanks.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jon. Thanks, guys, for watching, and until next week, thanks for joining us on Reset Live.
As someone that would want to be a politician, so it's just a venue that I'm using to gain more knowledge about that system, but to help those that don't know about that system. In high school, I got involved with the Mayor's Menino Youth Council. I was a Dorchester representative, and that was the first time that I had to represent a community. In Boston Public Schools, definitely it's hard for us Cape Verdeans to succeed out there because they want to shut down a lot of the programs that help us as students that English is our second language. The system is kind of hey, we just want to get the students to graduate. Forget if they're going to go to college or not, but we need our numbers to look that we're graduating a lot of students. One of the things that I woke up to when I came to UMass, we're not the face that they're talking about doing orientation. You know what I mean? They talk about it, but they're not showing the real stuff. So to me, it was just hey, we're actually here, and we're the reason that you have this diversity, but you're not giving me the resources that I need to show my Cape Verdean culture throughout campus. And people think, oh, there's no more racism. Yes, there is. People need to start educating themselves regardless if you were affected by it, regardless if you're black or not. That's a national and international problem. You don't have to be directly affected by it. You don't have to be black. You have to be citizens of the world. Second chance. Reset means second chance to me. That's my sentence. Second chance.